There is a version of you that may never have been formed if everything you prayed for had happened quickly. Think about that. If the relationship had worked out, if he had chosen you, if the wedding had happened when you expected, if you had never experienced rejection, loneliness, disappointment, or those uncomfortable questions from people who keep asking, "So, when are you getting married?" Would you have discovered the woman you are becoming now? Because sometimes, while you are asking God, "Why is this taking so long?" something deeper is happening. You are changing. And perhaps the most important question in this season is not, "When will I get married?" Perhaps it is, "Who am I becoming while I wait?" Because marriage is important, but marriage is not the beginning of your value. A wedding ring does not suddenly give a woman purpose. A husband cannot carry the responsibility of making you whole. And the season before marriage is not an empty waiting room where your real life has not started yet. Your life is happening now. And somewhere listening to this is a woman who needs to hear that. Maybe you love God. You are trying to live right. You are working, studying, building your career, serving in church, helping your family, praying about your future, and yet there are evenings when the silence becomes uncomfortable. You come home. You put your bag down. You check your phone. Nothing. You scroll through social media for a few minutes, and suddenly another engagement appears. A woman you went to school with is holding up her hand. A ring is shining on her finger. Her caption says, "I said yes." You smile. You press like. Maybe you even type, "Congratulations." And you genuinely mean it. But then you put your phone down. And something happens inside you. You begin calculating. She is younger than me. She just started dating him last year. I've been praying for years. Then comes the question you don't want to say aloud. God, have you forgotten me? That question does not necessarily mean you are jealous. Sometimes you are simply tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of starting conversations that go nowhere. Tired of meeting someone and wondering whether this could finally become something meaningful. Tired of relatives turning every family gathering into an interview. When are we coming for your wedding? Don't be too selective. You're not getting younger. Your younger cousin already has 2 children. People may laugh when they say it, but sometimes you go home carrying words they forgot 5 minutes after speaking. And then there is another kind of pressure. The pressure you put on yourself. You look in the mirror and wonder whether something is wrong with you. Maybe I'm not beautiful enough. Maybe I'm too quiet. Maybe I'm too ambitious. Maybe men are intimidated by my career. Maybe I should lose weight. Maybe I should dress differently. Maybe I pray too much. Maybe I don't pray enough. Maybe I missed God's will. Maybe that man I rejected 3 years ago was my only opportunity. And little by little, waiting stops feeling like a season. It begins feeling like a verdict on your worth. But it isn't. And this is where we need to separate 2 things that often become tangled together. The desire for marriage. And the belief that marriage proves your value. They are not the same thing. You can deeply desire marriage without making marriage your identity. You can desire companionship without believing your life is incomplete. You can pray for a husband without turning every unmarried year into evidence that God is withholding something because you are not good enough. And one woman in Scripture understood something about waiting that we often miss. Ruth. When Ruth lost her husband, her future did not look romantic. It looked uncertain. She was a widow in a culture where widowhood could mean economic vulnerability, social insecurity, and a frightening future. And when she followed Naomi to Bethlehem, Ruth chapter 1 does not describe a woman walking confidently toward her future husband. She did not know Boaz was coming. She was simply taking the next faithful step. That matters. Because sometimes we read Ruth backward. We know how the story ends, so we imagine every chapter was secretly about Boaz. But Ruth did not live her life backward. She lived it forward. One uncertain day at a time. Before Boaz noticed Ruth, Ruth was already working. Before Boaz protected Ruth, Ruth was already courageous. Before Boaz married Ruth, Ruth was already loyal. Before there was romance, there was character. Ruth chapter 2 shows her going into the fields to gather leftover grain so that she and Naomi could eat. Imagine the humility of that. She was not sitting somewhere saying, "God, send my husband so my life can begin." She was doing what was in front of her. And that may be one of the most important lessons for a woman waiting for marriage. Do not postpone becoming because you are waiting for someone to arrive. Build now. Learn now. Heal now. Serve now. Travel if you have the opportunity. Develop your gifts. Become financially wiser. Take care of your body. Deepen your friendships. Strengthen your relationship with God. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to apologize. Learn how to recognize manipulation. Learn how to say no without feeling guilty. Learn how to be alone without believing you are unwanted. Because one of the greatest dangers in prolonged loneliness is that eventually, almost any attention can begin to feel like love. And that is where some women become vulnerable. Imagine a woman named Maya. Maya is 31. She has a good job. She loves God. She wants a family. For several years, relationships have not worked out. Then she meets Daniel. Daniel texts every morning. "Good morning, beautiful." He calls at night. He tells her how different she is from other women. Within 3 weeks, he is talking about their future. And Maya feels something she has not felt in a long time. Chosen. But slowly, other things begin appearing. Daniel becomes irritated when she spends time with friends. He wants to know where she is constantly. When she disagrees with him, he disappears for 2 days. Then he returns with affection. When Maya expresses concern, he says, "You think too much. You're too sensitive. This is why relationships don't work for you." Something inside her knows this is unhealthy. But another voice says, "What if I leave and nobody else comes?" That sentence has trapped many people in relationships they knew were damaging. Not because they could not see the red flags, but because loneliness made the red flags look less dangerous than starting over. And this is one reason the woman you become before marriage matters. Because boundaries are much harder to establish when your identity depends on being chosen. Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23 says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Guarding your heart does not mean building a wall so high that nobody can love you. It means learning that access to your heart should come with wisdom. Chemistry is not character. Attention is not commitment. Words are not consistency. And somebody wanting you is not automatically evidence that somebody is good for you. Sometimes the most spiritually mature sentence you can say is, "I want marriage, but I do not want it badly enough to abandon wisdom." That is growth. And maybe God is using this season to teach you something else. How to recognize your own wounds. Because marriage does not magically heal insecurity. It often exposes it. If you constantly need reassurance while single, marriage may not eliminate that need. If you avoid difficult conversations now, a wedding will not automatically make you courageous. If you cannot say no because you fear disappointing people, marriage will not automatically create boundaries. If every disagreement feels like rejection because of what happened in your childhood, your husband may unintentionally touch wounds he did not create. This is why healing matters before marriage, not because you must become a perfect woman before you can be loved. Nobody enters marriage perfectly healed. But self-awareness changes relationships. Maybe your father was emotionally absent. Maybe you grew up watching your mother tolerate things that hurt her. Maybe affection was rare in your home. Maybe you learned that being a good girl meant never expressing anger, disappointment, or disagreement. Maybe your first serious relationship ended with betrayal. And now when somebody takes longer than usual to reply to your message, your mind immediately starts preparing for abandonment. That reaction did not begin with that text message. Something deeper may be speaking. Psalm 139 verses 23 and 24 contains a courageous prayer. "Search me, O God, and know my heart, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." That prayer is not merely about identifying obvious sin. It is an invitation for God to reveal what is happening inside us. "Lord, show me what I keep repeating. Show me what I keep excusing. Show me why I am attracted to emotionally unavailable people. Show me why rejection destroys me. Show me why I need everyone to approve of me. Show me where fear is making decisions for me. Sometimes the answer to prayer is not immediately a changed circumstance. Sometimes God begins by changing the person praying. And that transformation can be uncomfortable. Because God may show you that you have been calling anxiety discernment. Or calling control standards. Or calling emotional dependence love. Or calling fear patience. Or perhaps He shows you the opposite. Maybe people have accused you of being too selective, when some of the things you refuse to compromise are actually wise. Maybe you are not asking for perfection. You simply want honesty, faithfulness, emotional maturity, shared faith, respect, responsibility, someone who can communicate without punishment, manipulation, or games. Do not let desperation convince you that healthy standards are arrogance. At the same time, allow God to examine whether some preferences have become unrealistic expectations. There is a difference between discernment and demanding a flawless human being. Wisdom knows the difference. And there is another part of waiting that people rarely talk about. Friendships change. Your closest friend gets married. At first, nothing seems different. Then her schedule changes. Saturday afternoons become family time. Late-night phone calls become shorter. Then she becomes pregnant. You are genuinely happy for her. You attend the baby shower. You buy a beautiful gift. You take pictures together. But later that night, you return to your apartment and realize that the person who used to understand your season is now living a completely different one. And you feel guilty for being sad because nothing bad happened. Her blessing is not your tragedy. But change can still hurt. You are allowed to acknowledge that. Maturity is learning to celebrate another woman's joy without denying your own grief. Romans chapter 12 verse 15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. Sometimes, strangely, you are doing both. You are rejoicing for her, while grieving something you still desire. God can hold both emotions. You don't have to pretend. And please hear this carefully. Another woman's timeline is not evidence about yours. Her engagement is not a message from God about your worth. Her pregnancy announcement is not proof that heaven has overlooked you. Her photographs show you a moment. They do not show you the entire reality of her life. Comparison takes somebody else's visible chapter and uses it to judge your private story. And comparison almost always cheats. It shows you her wedding photos but not her arguments. Her flowers but not her fears. Her anniversary but not the work required to build that marriage. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." That verse is not a promise that everyone receives identical experiences on different dates. It is a reminder that life unfolds in seasons beyond our control. And wisdom means being present in the season you actually have. Not the one you expected to have by now. Perhaps you thought you would be married at 25. Now you are 29. Or 34. Or 40. Perhaps you imagined children running through your home by this age. Instead, you are building a career you never expected. Caring for aging parents. Starting a business. Going back to school. Serving in ministry. Beginning again after heartbreak. And sometimes you wonder, is this really my life? Yes, this is your life. And it deserves your presence. Do not spend 5 years mourning the life you thought you would have and miss the life that is actually happening. That does not mean killing your desire for marriage. It means refusing to make the future your only permission to experience joy. There are dinners to enjoy now. Friendships to nurture now. Books to read now. Places to visit now. People to encourage now. Money to learn how to manage now. Skills to develop now. Memories to create now. And prayers to pray now that have nothing to do with finding a husband. One of the quiet signs of spiritual growth is when your prayer life becomes bigger than your relationship status. When instead of only praying, "God, send me someone," you begin praying, "God, make me wise. Teach me to love people well. Give me courage. Help me forgive. Show me my purpose. Teach me stewardship. Help me become emotionally healthy. Make me useful wherever you place me. Teach me to recognize your voice. That woman is becoming difficult for desperation to manipulate, because her life has roots. And this is where we need to talk about purpose. You are not created merely to become somebody's wife. If marriage comes, being a wife may become a beautiful and significant part of your calling. Motherhood may become part of your story too. But before anyone calls you wife, God calls you his. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10 says that we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works that God prepared for us to walk in. Your purpose does not begin at the altar. There are things God can do through you today. Maybe you are the first woman in your family pursuing a certain career. Maybe you are building something that will bless people you have never met. Maybe younger women are watching how you handle disappointment. Maybe your younger sister needs to see that a woman can desire marriage without becoming desperate for male validation. Maybe God is teaching you financial responsibility because one day others may depend on your wisdom. Maybe He is developing leadership in you. Maybe He is teaching you patience through a difficult workplace. Maybe He is teaching you courage because you finally left a relationship that repeatedly dishonored your boundaries. Not every painful experience was sent by God. People make harmful choices. Life can be unfair. Relationships fail for many reasons. But God can still work within painful seasons. Romans chapter 8 verse 28 does not say everything that happens is good. It says God works in all things for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. There is a difference. Heartbreak was painful. Rejection was painful. Being ghosted was painful. Watching somebody you thought you would marry suddenly become distant was painful. But pain does not get the final authority over what you become. God can teach you through what He did not cause. And perhaps one of the deepest things He is building is the ability to release people. Some women are waiting for marriage while emotionally married to someone who already left. His number is still saved. His old messages are still there. Every few weeks you check his profile. You notice when he views your story. You analyze every small interaction. You tell yourself you are waiting on God. But deep inside, you may actually be waiting for one particular person to change his mind. There is a difference. Sometimes faith means holding on. Sometimes faith means opening your hands. You may need to pray, Lord, if I am holding on to something you are asking me to release, give me courage to let it go. Not because another man is guaranteed to appear next month, but because your peace should not remain permanently tied to somebody else's indecision. And if you need to unfollow him for a while, unfollow him. If rereading old messages keeps reopening the wound, stop rereading them. If every conversation with him leaves you confused, pay attention to the pattern. Healing sometimes looks spiritual. Sometimes it looks very practical. Delete the draft. Call your friend instead. Go for the walk. Book the counseling session. Return to church. Finish the application. Start the course. Make the budget. Sleep. Eat properly. Pray honestly. Cry when you need to. Then get up again. This is how lives are rebuilt. Not usually through one dramatic moment. Through small faithful decisions repeated over time. And there is something beautiful about the woman who eventually realizes, I don't need to chase what does not choose me clearly. That does not make her cold. It makes her free. She can love without begging. She can hope without obsessing. She can date without abandoning discernment. She can be interested without imagining a wedding after 3 conversations. She can receive rejection without translating it into worthlessness. She can say, that hurt. I really hoped it would work. But his decision does not define my value. That kind of security is powerful. Not because she never cries. She may cry deeply. But she no longer collapses every time somebody does not choose her. Because she knows who already has. Isaiah chapter 43 verse 1 says, Fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. Before romantic love, there is belonging. Before relationship status, there is identity. Before someone decides whether you are his type, God already knows your name. And perhaps that is the woman God is building in you. Not a woman obsessed with becoming wife material. A woman becoming Christ-like, wise, compassionate, emotionally honest, prayerful, courageous, responsible, able to forgive without returning to unsafe patterns, able to love without losing herself, able to serve without needing applause, able to admit when she is wrong, able to communicate when something hurts, able to receive correction without believing she is worthless, able to enjoy another woman's blessing without believing there is less goodness available for her, able to sit alone on a Friday evening and still know that her life has meaning. And if marriage becomes part of her story, she will not enter it asking a man to become her God. She will enter as a woman who already knows where her deepest identity comes from. That matters because marriage itself will require character. There will be ordinary mornings, bills, laundry, misunderstandings, career decisions, family pressures, maybe children, maybe fertility struggles, maybe relocation, maybe seasons when one person is exhausted. Marriage is not 24-hour romance. It is two imperfect people learning to love faithfully in real life. So perhaps the question is not only, God, where is my husband? Perhaps another prayer is, God, prepare me for whatever responsibilities my future holds. And preparation does not mean obsessing over marriage. It means becoming healthy enough to live faithfully whether marriage comes soon, much later, or your life unfolds differently than you once imagined. That is surrender. And surrender is not saying, I no longer care. It is saying, God, I care deeply. You know I care. But I trust you more than I trust my timetable. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 and 6 says, Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Notice that Scripture does not say we will always understand the path. Trust is necessary precisely because sometimes we don't. Maybe you are in that season right now. You do not know why that relationship ended. You do not know why somebody who seemed so promising suddenly disappeared. You do not know why your prayers seem unanswered. You do not know whether marriage will happen next year or years from now. You do not have to pretend you know. Faith is not pretending uncertainty does not exist. Faith is deciding who you will trust inside the uncertainty. So tonight, perhaps instead of asking yourself what is wrong with you, ask something different. What is growing in me? Am I becoming more discerning, more courageous, more honest, more peaceful? Am I learning boundaries? Am I healing? Am I becoming financially responsible? Am I building meaningful friendships? Am I discovering gifts I ignored before? Am I becoming closer to God? And where am I still stuck? What am I tolerating because I fear being alone? Whose approval am I still chasing? What wound keeps choosing relationships for me? What dream have I postponed because I assumed marriage had to happen first? Those questions may change your waiting season. Because suddenly you realize, you have not been standing still. You have been becoming. And maybe one day you will look back and understand some things you cannot understand today. Maybe you will be grateful for some doors that closed. Maybe you will recognize how much you grew. Maybe some questions will remain unanswered. But you will know this. God was worthy of your trust even when you could not see the next chapter. So if you are lying in bed tonight wondering whether you are behind, hear this. You are not a half-finished woman waiting for a husband to complete the sentence. Your life matters now. Your obedience matters now. Your healing matters now. Your laughter matters now. Your work matters now. Your relationship with God matters now. Desire marriage honestly. Pray about it freely. Remain open to love. Use wisdom when opportunities come. But do not place your entire life at the feet of a future relationship. Become the woman who can say, Lord, I give you my desire without giving fear control over me. Heal what needs healing. Correct what needs correcting. Develop what needs developing. Close doors I am too afraid to close. Give me wisdom when someone enters my life. Protect me from desperation. Teach me to recognize healthy love. Help me stop comparing my story with everyone else's. And while I wait for what I cannot control, help me faithfully build what I can. Because perhaps the greatest work happening in this season is not somewhere outside you. Perhaps it is happening quietly within you. In every boundary you finally keep. Every unhealthy pattern you recognize. Every prayer that becomes more honest. Every disappointment you survive without becoming bitter. Every time you celebrate another woman without despising your own life. Every time you choose wisdom over loneliness. Every time you get up and continue building. You are becoming. And whether your next chapter includes marriage soon, much later, or unfolds in a way you cannot currently imagine, the woman you are becoming will not be wasted. God is not merely the God of the destination. He is God here. In the unanswered question. In the quiet apartment. In the career decision. In the healing process. In the awkward family gathering. In the Saturday night when everyone seems busy. In the prayer you have prayed 100 times. In the courage to walk away. In the strength to begin again. And in the ordinary Tuesday morning when nothing dramatic happens, but you choose to trust Him one more day. So don't only ask God to change your relationship status. Ask Him to transform your heart. And years from now, perhaps one of the greatest testimonies of this season will not simply be, "I finally got married." Perhaps it will be, "I found out who I was in God. I learned to stop begging for love. I learned to recognize healthy love. I healed. I grew. I discovered purpose. I became courageous. I learned that waiting and wasting are not the same thing. And I discovered that even when I did not know what God was doing next, I could still trust who He was." If this message described a season you are living through, tell me in the comments. What do you believe God is developing in you right now? Your answer may encourage another woman who thought she was the only one struggling. And if there is a woman in your life who has been quietly carrying the pressure of waiting, comparison, heartbreak, or uncertainty, share this message with her. Not to tell her to just be patient, but to remind her that her life is valuable right now. And subscribe if you want more conversations like this. Honest conversations about faith, womanhood, healing, relationships, purpose, and becoming the woman God is calling you to be. Whatever chapter you are in today, keep walking with God. You do not need to know the entire story to faithfully live this page. And while you are wondering what the next chapter will bring, never underestimate the woman God is building in you right now.